One thing I've learned, if you don't hold their feet to the fire, everybody gets burned.
Hold on. Before you start waving around that freedom of speech thing, when you're in a crowded movie theater and you scream fire, you better be able to smell smoke. You come on this radio show and you start saying incandescent things like that, you better have more behind you, pal, than just your thumb. I've been listening to talk radio for years, and one thing I just can't stand is when the host has to, push his way on the people, beat the callers into his way of thinking, extending his ego, or when the callers call in and say something so outrageous and the host lets it go unchallenged. The sign you're on the road to truth is the lack of contradiction. You want to find truth, you just don't simply believe somebody because of their authority or their degree, or you listen to what they say, you test it against reality, and you hold their feet to the fire. We are back and we are live on Spreaker. Feet to the Fire Radio, now in year 18. We are live. The show will be uploaded. It's just an audio show, but it'll be uploaded to YouTube and BitChute after we're done here. I decided just to go audio because there's not a lot to show you. I could, a couple of things, but I could just talk it through, put links in. I'm not going to go into a lot of stuff that's going on with the elections and all that. There's plenty of people taking care of that, and it's very important. One bit of news I will bring out before I get into the topic is that I've been talking on several shows about the mandated vaccines, and they are calling for it. There's no question about it. There was a... See if I could find the article. Now that they're putting Trump's, they got a bot that puts Trump's tweets right on Gab. I could finally see all his tweets. I didn't do that on Twitter. New England Journal of Medicine is now advocating mandatory vaccines and with severe punishments. Locked in their homes, fired from their jobs, etc. InvestmentWatchBlog.com is where this is coming from. This is nothing new. Just to see another place talking about it is very disconcerting. But what I want to talk about today is the little title I came up with. I got to come up with a title and graphic and all that, and I like doing that. The Cyber Watchers. There's no place to hide. Now, we all know that they're harvesting your data. You're on Facebook. They're cataloging everything you're doing. There's a book that is out that I'm currently reading, and it has put a lot of meat on the bone to a lot of my ponderings. Because what I'll do is I'll ponder a logical kind of a critically thought line along a line of musing along the line, and There's evidence to back it up and all that, but a lot of it is based on the logical framework as I think about possibilities with the technical knowledge that I have, which is not great, but I've been around a little while and acquired some, and so I've been talking about and I've done shows before saying that Oh, my windscreen is. There we go. I've been talking other shows about how people are wanting to leave and go to Gab, which is, Gab is a great place. I like it. There is no censorship. But if you're thinking that you're going to delete your Facebook account and go there and have your data gone, I mean, you can delete it, but it's still there. There is a method that Google, Facebook, I don't know, probably Twitter, but Google and Facebook are the big ones. What they do is they have, especially Google, but they have the ability to develop an understanding on how you talk, which words you use, the cadence, well, not cadence, but how the sentences are constructed so that they could, even if you change your name and you fake where you are and all this stuff, they can look at the topics and the words used and the tone in it and so on. And their AI stuff could guess it's probably you. And they will tie that with your account. So if you've never been on Facebook and you've never been on Google, with an account, and you've never used Gmail, I don't know, everyone has done these things, but they may not have started a file on you. And if you were to go to, say, a Gab, even with that clean of slate, what they would do is that anything that's publicly on the web, you post on Gab, you post it in any journal, no matter if it's independent or not, no matter if you're using a Mac, Linux, Windows, doesn't matter. If you write these things, it's scanned. The spiders can scan all public messages. And they, of course, can have bots inside private places that could scan that way, too. So even though they may not know your name and know exactly where you are, a lot of the messages may have data in there in terms of where, an IP, let's say, and they can narrow down your distance. They can figure out that this is you without knowing your name. And as soon as somebody replies to you using your name, or if somebody posts like a picture, here we are back at so-and-so, and they announce it, especially if you have people on Facebook and all that who may be using your name in conversations or in posts, that data is tied to it. Now, it takes more work than Facebook and if you were YouTube and whatnot, but they still do it. And when you're talking about the power of AI, granted, there's a lot of people to scan, there's a lot of things to do, but that's their job, and that's their gig. If they can come up with a file on you and somebody else doesn't, that's big. That's where they get their money. So the thing is I have prepared myself to be banned from Facebook and YouTube at some point. I'm just not that popular. That's why I've done things other people have, but I'm just not that popular. A little over 1,900 subscribers on YouTube compared to, hundreds of thousands. It's, a lot of people, a lot of these systems will deem the risk of my contamination to be minor. Now, if a post I make goes viral and it gets to get 1 million views, well, then that's a whole other ballgame. Now I'm a threat to their system. That's how I look at it. Of course, a network of people passing things around under the radar, so to speak, is very effective in doing things. So people networking with each other, you don't have to have giant groups of followers to be able to get information across. Though it takes a large network of networking, not a group, because a group can be monitored, but just you happen to be posting a link in something else, and if you're not above the radar, same will apply, and so on. It's also important not to purposely go out and taunt the beast by saying things that are be banned just to be a rebel, because you're kind of wasting your. Well, I'm back. Gosh. I know I've listened to some folks who have been gone and come back, and they're in two parts, and now I've joined the club. Well, like I was mentioned, Less Visible last week we had a problem with my mic, and it was a very simple little thing. The different way to mute it, a different update for the program, and so I do everything off board and goes into the computer. So what ends up happening is I get no knowledge that it's backing up. So it ends up, people are like, hey, in the chat room. And for some reason, I couldn't see the chat room on YouTube either. I don't know why. I've done this at home so many times. There's a little tweak that they changed, and I missed the little tweak, I guess, and it happens. So I didn't bother to put the Less Visible interview up on Spreaker. It was done live on YouTube, and I did leave the YouTube video up because I fixed it about 30 minutes in, but I figured it would be pretty weird putting up the interview with a lot of dead air on a place where it's only audio. Anyway, going back to what I was talking about, no matter when you get your face on the web, whether it's literally your face or if it's your typing, they start to make a account of you. Your browser actually makes an account of you, though it's not personally keeping your name and so forth. I don't know if they do it now. I mean, it used to be that way where they would create an account and then they could turn around and share that anonymous account with these things that are liking, and then their ad, when you go into a page, their ads would check into your cookie with this particular browser, and then it would give you relevant ads, which, ultimately I don't think that's necessarily bad, but everything is ruined and used by the dark side for their oppression. So when you do actually switch to go somewhere else, even though you change your name and so forth, they still can put two and two together in your habits. You would have to change your name. You'd have to be like the fugitive. Change your name, your hair, a new identity, but you'd have to be able to type your own different. You'd have to type in a different style, and then in the end, my point is, what's the point? What is the point of using encrypted email to talk to somebody unless what you're doing is, yes, you're working on a company project or a secret this, or you have information you don't want someone to have access to? Yeah, you encrypt it, but all in all, it's almost like the battle is to stay afloat versus against hackers and stealing. But but your data, in terms of building a system on you, is they're going to do it. Now, I'm not saying just to say heck. A lot of people have just said heck with it. They're going to do it anyway. It doesn't matter. But I want to recommend this book because it gets really deep. I'm not even done with it yet, and it's awesome in terms of how this individual, in writing it, has backed everything up with so much evidence, both the technical abilities and examples of it. The name of the book is called Deleted. It's actually #deleted. That's the title. The subtitle is Big Tech's Battle to Erase the Trump Movement and Steal the Election. Now, that is a part of the book. It does show how Google, Facebook, and Twitter and what they do and how they can actually move and change voting patterns. And there are several people featured in the book quoted by him in their work proving this. So that's the book. But what I also took away from it was learning the technical ways that they can watch you. These are the digital version of the watchers of old that are watching what you're doing and seeing how they can manipulate you. So when I say manipulate, let's just take what's going on with BLM and whatnot. The people who are out there rioting let's say people out there protesting. Okay, that's one group of people that are being manipulated by the people behind BLM, and in their ability to do things, they'll go out and they will carry signs. Hold on. Excuse me. Bless you. Thank you. They'll hold signs or canvas or whatever. So they will manipulate them into that belief system and use them to best they can. Then there are other people who are violent and have anger and all that. So they can be manipulated into a more military or terrorist type aspect of it. They will get money from the big tech companies. They'll get them from Hollywood and so on. Because in essence, what these people are doing is they are signing on and giving their approval to the coup or revolution or whatever you want to call it, the color revolution that's going on now. So they're signing into that. And so the people who are doing this coup can manipulate the companies into giving them money, which is basically taking protection money. Like, in this new system, remember me, I supported you. And as they manipulate, and then, you can say any politician, you could say even Trump would be manipulating the followers. Manipulation is a funny word because manipulating has a negative connotation with it. But it also has a sterility of having somebody saying things a certain way to get you to do things. Now, I think in Trump's case, what he does is, rather than manipulate in the classic sense, is that he attracts like minds and, how would I say that? Like, not feeds it. That also sounds a little negative, but like waters it, keeps it going, and will be of use for the election and spreading the word. So there's a manipulation there. It might not be as hostile or as negative. Because to me, the word manipulation uses making somebody do something that you want them to do without regard or much regard to them. So if you manipulate somebody to, be a suicide bomber, all right? They're manipulated with the religious overtones and whatnot. And your job is to get them to blow something up, which would kill them. It's not going to be in their best interest at all. Because there's not going to be like rainbows waiting for them on the other side. But you got what you wanted, which was to cause that havoc. So that's more, whether that's a harsh example, but that's more the way I look at manipulate. Whereas recruit like-minded and have people do things that they would want to do in a more positive sense would be the part of manipulation that would be more positive. So when you're teaching somebody how to do things, you're also manipulating them into emulating your methods for teaching, which is in their best interest for learning a trade or what have you. So you see, it's kind of difficult to talk about it. But back to the book, Deleted, the author's name is Allum Bokhari, Bokhari, Allum, first name. He wrote this book, very well researched, very good book. I'm glad that I have it. It's showing how the big tech can do it. Now, what's interesting, talking about leaving Facebook, right? If you were to not participate, let me do it this way. They're talking about the polls, right? They take the polls and the Biden's ahead. Some of the reasons why they're ahead is how they poll. They're polling particular groups and weights and whatnot. But also the assumption is that if you ask somebody who they're going to vote for, they will tell you. Whereas when you have people who are on the Trump side tend to not say, or they may even say Biden, just to get you off your back or what have you. The polls don't work well when trying to find out about people who are voting for Trump. Now, in the same vein, going into the internet and having your data mined and whatnot, if you don't share, if you choose, again, another idea came to me. When you're going out into public, you don't walk out like naked, right? If you meet somebody the first time, you don't tell them any kind of intimate secrets. This is the kind of thing when you're going out into the internet, people get very comfortable and they start talking about things that they would never do, or at least they wouldn't in the past do when you're out in public. And this is how they can get the information about you. In fact, hackers will tell you the best way to get information to hack into a person's system is by talking to them. That's why you get the calls for Social Security, or Microsoft needs you to talk to them about your computer, and they'll talk to you, and you can talk them into giving certain information. Most of the people who are, I shouldn't say most, I'm not saying that authoritative. A lot of people who are in investigations, how they get their information is literally befriending the person and getting the information. So one of the next thing I want to mention is that if people do say, okay, that's it, I've had it, I'm going to go leave, I'm going to start a new account, or I'm going to quit Facebook, or YouTube. I'm going to start a new YouTube, and I'm going to use a privacy browser and all this stuff, and go to like Gab, for example, or BitChute. Well, again, I mentioned they can mine it from you anyway, but one of the reasons you want to stay is to, inside the place, expose the place. But of course, there's shadow banning and all that. If we all go to Gab and we all go to BitChute, that allows them to firewall us away from the masses who might accidentally find out some real truth or fact that's not being told to them by the mainstream media, which is propaganda. So when you go, you're going to create like an internet ghetto where you're going to go to these other platforms, and then through the way the internet is set up, they can firewall you out so that Google searches, for example, don't find that, or put it lower down. Don't give the suggestions for that and play it down. So it's like what I'm trying to say. I don't mean to be like it's all fruitless. I'm saying that your expectations have to be real. When you go out and do things on the internet, you have to realize that you are being watched, cataloged, and whatnot. So what you're saying should be to the point. I know it's not fun. People say, I want it fun. It's the whole point of doing this is fun. But, we're at war. World War II would be fun to go out and play, in Dresden as they're bombing the city, right? Well, I want to go out and play. Well, they're bombing the city, okay? So you got to understand, this is a war that's going on. It's a color revolution. This is a coup. This is big tech is using the propaganda, bending the propaganda to try and squelch the people who would have information, kind of firewall them away or shadow ban them away, while forcing the people who they want to have the information they want you to know up front. Now, I've noticed this in YouTube, is that I'm getting a lot of people who are politically attacking Trump in my feed, which I'm not interested in, but they're trying to balance the feed with this other information. And it's like these people should not be doing that. They should be there to simply facilitate the sharing of information. That's what it was in the beginning at first, anyway. But these are the watchers that are watching you, and the book deleted, hashtag deleted, I think is it goes into great. I'm not even going to try to go over it because it's a 10-hour book, 10-hour audio book. So obviously I can't do it. I don't have good memory on it, full memory on it. So I really suggest getting it. I'm using, as I mentioned, I'm using the audio book of it, but it's very, very good stuff. And I would recommend people to read it. Now I don't know what people might say. Well, what's the point? What do I care? I mean, whatever. And that brings me to another point: is that what's coming on in the world right now, coming up to this election, this is a cascading event leading to some kind of war. We're in a new 21st century war tactics, which is more of a propaganda war, sprinkled in with some bombing and shootings. I mean, I understand that they had a Trump rally, which was met with the Antifa or BLM. They're almost interchangeable in my book. And there was some words expressed, and a Trump supporter or patriot, as there's being said, got shot, killed. So this is going to increase which is kind of a scary thing. I mean, I it's almost like I'm saying, keep your eyes open, keep your thoughts close to your vest, close to your chest, and prepare the best you can for things like this. You know, we had a little dry run with the COVID scare. You couldn't get toilet paper, etc. You had like a little dry run. That's kind of a shot across the bow. To me, that's divine saying, pay attention. And so prepare. I mean, I'm looking at taking a couple days off during the election and kind of like assessing what's going on to see. It could be a whimper, but it seems to me that the left is so corrupt, and you toss in child trafficking and whatnot for flavor, they can't afford to lose and have this stuff exposed. And then people wonder if Barr really is going to expose it. So you can't figure it out at this point. We're on this side of the event horizon, and you can't peer inside and know what's going to happen because there's so many new things at play. Past historical events cannot forecast what's going on. The economy is complex and super related. Another book that I just finished, actually there's a series of books. I read two of them. One is called The Road to Ruin. I think his name is Patrick, P-A-C-K. I'll look it up when I'm trying to do this. Road to Ruin. I mean, you could do this too, I guess. Yeah, here we go. The Road to Ruin, the Global Elite Secret Plan for the Next Financial Crisis. Now, it came out in November 2016, and the author, which is Rickards, that's what it is, James Rickards. Great, great, great book. Highly recommended. It's $13.99 on Kindle if you do that type of thing. His next book that came out is Aftermath, which was written at the end of 2018, I think. And his new book that's coming out first of the year is called The Great Depression. Yeah. Winners and Losers in a Post-Pandemic World. So if I think his books are well reading. In financially, actually the thing I got from this, one of the things I got from it is the complexity theory, where they're using older methods of trying to predict financial aspects in the world now. But because things are so complex, you can't use old metrics. And the complexity theory is a good way to look at it. And by putting the complexity theory in, it can come out and predict things that we would never predict because they're so out in left field. So you have the possible collapse of the economy by reasons unknown at this point. Some of the things are obvious. 23 trillion in debt. There's some of the old usual suspects involved, but you also have the complex intertwining of the banks and swapping debt, as well as the I can't think of the name of it now. There's quadrillion of them. Derivatives. You put all that together, it's so complex, no one can figure it out. But what will happen somewhere along the line is, like the butterfly will flap its wings and there'll be a hurricane somewhere else. The complexity theory will have a bunch of things will happen and interact in a way that you never thought it would be. So that theory, to me, is still in play right now with the election. We have Trump, by my estimation, is way out in traditional voting. I mean, just dominating. The polls aren't accurate, but Trump is dominating in the real world voters. I mean, you could just see he comes to do a impromptu, peaceful protest, quote unquote, and tens of thousands of people show up on a day's notice. He's doing it now. There's a Monday. There's going to be a rally. He set it up this weekend after he recovered from the COVID. And he's going to be doing rallies this week. And there's going to be tens of thousands of people out there where you look at Biden and you have, 10. It's obvious that Trump's base is grown larger since last year. There's more of the minority votes on Trump's side seeing the mark, even though the left is downplaying the ridiculous. And they're becoming parodies of themselves, which is also starting to have people to wear off. So a lot of people are maybe not going to show up to vote because they don't like Trump and they don't like what the offering is. They're just going out of heck with it. And but it's a complexity, systems theory in action. All these things are going to be. You have the possible attacks, and who knows what hardcore stuff's behind the corner. So it's all out there, and a human being can't figure out what's going to happen. There's so many things going on economically. When Trump, leading up to the election, with the news that Hillary had a 93% chance of winning, the market started to tumble. And then when Trump won, it went off into, the stratosphere. Now, I'm thinking it's way overvalued. So it's kind of bad. Even it's good, but it's bad because it's not real. But it went up in that area because of the expectations or hopes anyway, of Trump bringing back the economy, which he did work at until the COVID thing happened. So, you see all these things. It's like, I tell you, I'm really upset by all of this because it's like very significant things are potentially happening and they're not wild cards. They're not like, well, it could. It's like to me, if I look forward, the bad stuff is like more likely to be the case than the good stuff. And because we're seeing evidence of the bad stuff and we're being told about the good stuff. And we've been strung along for years about investigations, and now it's going to be after the election. Okay, well, what if Trump doesn't win? Or what if he wins and it's stolen from him? I mean, they're going to contest the election. They're going to go to the court. They're going to try drag it out past the 21st, pull the Constitution out and say, hey, there's got to be a president. So, Nancy will volunteer to be the president while they figure it out. I mean, I can't even think about it. I'll go crazy. And these are all possible. It's not crazy. It's not like a lottery where, yeah, people do win the lottery, but your odds are 450 million to 1 against winning. That's pretty definitive. Yes, you're going to lose. Now, you might throw a buck or two in there for the heck of it because somebody does win. But we're talking, there are no odds at this point. Anything could happen. And it's like, everything from like Jesus returning, which would be fantastic with me. But again, I kind of doubt that. That'd be too good. Usually that stuff would happen, I would say, after things got really bad. So I'm trying not to freak. I'm not freaking like I'm worried this is going to happen. Hey, if I die or something, fine. I mean, I'm going to die eventually anyway. But it's like my mind is set up to come up with, given the data, it's designed to come up with an answer or at least a theory. Well, looking at all the evidence, it appears to me that this is going to happen. I can't do that. The best I can do is say Trump will win by a considerable margin of honest votes. Okay, I'll say that. The unknown is how successful will they be with dishonest voting and mail-in voting and all that? How successful will they be in courts? People would say, well, just trust in God. God's anointed and all that. Oh, maybe he is. I can't, my mind can't, what between the left and Q and Trump and looking at things, all of them want to have the faith in them. And that bothers me because there's no faith is worth anything on this earth. It's God. And God doesn't have a habit of getting involved in things. There's times throughout history he does. And it's like, is this one of those times? I don't know. As I look at the New Testament prophecy type things, in particular Jesus' words, it fits. we are in what I would call an end cycle. Whether it actually goes through the ending, I don't know. It could be revival. The good guys could win. The bad guys could be arrested, thwarted. Excuse me. And things can go on. I just don't know. So when I listen to talk shows, I get very bored very quickly when people are so sure that this is going to happen and that's going to happen, and the evidence they give is so unsure. It's I've given up on Alex Jones a long time ago because there's real stuff, good stuff that can come through there, but the whole area around it is so bombastically, I guess the word is that people have said it, toxic. Where 1 minute he's big Trump, and 1 minute Trump's letting us down, and all this. I can't. I don't know how people can listen to it. I'm wondering if people just get in that clique, and it's like an amusement ride. They're going along for the ride, but they're not attaching to what's being said. I don't know how to do it. I look at CNN. To me, looking at CNN is similar to looking at Alex Jones in that they're both putting on an emotional flavor, and the actual evidence is second seated. Whereas Jones will have stuff that I think is more true in terms of the basis stuff, and CNN will have things that are lies. They're still having this color of high energy. Oh my God, this is the most important show of the week, and I just can't listen to it. I get sucked. Maybe I'm what did they call that? One who does who picks up the emotions, an empath. Maybe I'm an empath, and other people have an easier time letting this stuff wash over you. I don't know. Could be because I definitely am picking up the upset on here. But all of this stuff is being watched, and then you have the spiritual watchers, that both on the negative side and the positive side. Positives, of course, much better. And the negative side is throwing all the, everything is at the kitchen sink. In fact, they're throwing that in. Whereas the positive side is waiting for that opportunity when everything's lined up just right, and then they can just throw a pebble in, and boom, everything, will move. That's where I'm hoping. That's my hope, is in the divine side of it. Though, looking at the world, I don't deserve it in a collective. Individuals may be doing things good, but back in the Old Testament, the individuals doing things good also were burnt at the stake. Talk to Tyndale about that. Prints the Bible in English so that people can read it, and he gets burned at the stake. So we're definitely in wild times, and all I could do is kind of put the two things together. And I have two things going at once here: the watchers and the tech part of it, and then what's going on with the elections and Antifas and all this stuff. So there's two things I'm doing here, I realize. But there is a common thread in that what is happening now is the books are recording. It's a test. So you say you're a Christian. Well, let's see. So you say you like evil. How far are you willing to go? So these are the kind of things that are being put out there. So the good are going to get gooder, the bad are going to get badder, and the people in the middle are going to have to go either way. They're going to start drifting either way, because this is, I think, the threshing floor, shaking the wheat from the chaff. So if you've been following me on any of these Twitters or Facebook and all that, I just say the stuff that I want to say. I mean, I'm not holding anything back. I'm not speaking in code. I just put the stuff out there, and I'm not very dramatic about it. I'm not, but I'm also under the radar. So you can find me on the various items if you want to exchange information on Facebook. Gab, I really like Gab at this point, and it's F2F, the number 2, F2F. That's my ID at Gab. And also, Feet to the Fire Radio is on BitChute. But now I have a problem with this one being two different files. It's going to show up twice. Oh, man. Well, anyway. I've been working on building a deck outside, not a deck, a cover for the winter. And so I'm really kind of beat. I'm not going to stay here too long. D Cook is in the chat room here on Spreaker saying hello. So hello back to her. I guess D would be her, right? I apologize for that. A cough. So recapping, I want to mention less visibles. My video got messed up, our audio got messed up, but the video was fine and his audio was fine. And about 30 minutes into it, I fixed it. So you can go to the YouTube channel or the BitChute to find that audio. I didn't bother with the video. I didn't bother with the audio because it was messed up. Now this one's cut in two pieces, so it's going to be messed up over there. So I might just not bother to put it up there and just use the ones here. But that was a good talk. Les is a good guy. He's got a good handle on things. He's one of the few people who are spiritually based in the East, which really knows the truths of the West too. So I could tell he's really based in truth and really loves God. So it was always good talking with him. We'll have to get him on again. Maybe we'll have him on before the election and so forth. Because he's calling for his personal feelings. There's going to be some catastrophes too. Not a good time. Yeah, I don't know. The one of my favorite verses, which carries me, is I'm paraphrasing it, but though the Lord slay me, I will praise His name. And so, though I may die in something, I will praise His name because that's what I will do. As being alive and serving God, or I'll survive, whatever. I can't worry about it. It's not if you should live, it's how you live that matters. So that's what I've been working on myself. I've been focusing on, I should say. I say working on it. So Trump is back. He beat COVID. He's going to beat Israelis. He sounds to me a little miffed, so I'm thinking in my personal opinion, I have no proof of this. My gut says that they all got COVID. They were seeded. I don't know how that would go about. I'm not saying one person did it because all these people got it. It sounds to me like it was an attack at some time. I don't know. I'm not going to put that. I'm not going to push that. It just seems like it to me. And he may have figured that out, and he's back from potential death. And so he's even getting on Barr and getting on other guys for not doing stuff. So we'll see. It's turning into like, if I had the vacation time, I would take the rest of this time off just to both distance myself and watch from the gallery, watch from the mezzanine in the back, because this is a special time in history. It gives you a little taste about what the Revolutionary War was about. But God is the ultimate, is my ultimate faith, and I will get through it. And however, I look for that guidance. There's still small voice to come. I'm gonna stop now. I think I'm starting to sound manic, like Trump. So I don't know if it's the energy or what, but I'm gonna go. And thanks for tuning in. And I said "and" a lot, and I hate that. We will see you probably next week. Something comes up earlier than that, I will do. But remember the book too. It's important that book. #deleted. Got a hashtag at the front or pound sign, whatever, deleted. Big Tech's battle to erase the Trump movement and steal the election. You'll learn a lot about the big tech companies as well. It's very, very wide scope, while the gist of it is what the title says. And also the books, works by James Rickards, Rickard. He's got a few of them. There's a series he's been doing over the years, and they're related, but they're not necessary to have the other one prior to it. The Death of Money, A New Case for Gold, The Road to Ruin, Currency Wars, Road to Ruin, Aftermath, and then the newest one that's coming out next year, The Great Depression. Thanks. But very interesting take on how it is with the complexity systems theory, complexity systems theory. Very interesting, and it does seem to fit where we're at now. So, all right, we'll get going here, and I'll talk to you next week. Sorry. I don't know. Take care. God bless. Reach for the sky.
Oh, my old friend, the one who walked before, the one who walked again, the ancient one of old, with wisdom for the new. Revive our inner sight, retell your timeless truths. Oh, ancient one.
Feet to Fire is a production of IPS Media Works on the OnSync Radio network of stations.